the roof's probably going to come off this place in a minute anyway with this weather. So here we are at the TradeGains Personal Gains Gain Plan podcast studio. The weather is up and down outside. 1 minute it was nice and sunny. Now it's very, very windy. So apologies about the background noise. First of all, you left school at 16?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you go straight into college?
No, straight in to work. I actually left pretty much before then. So, as normal, where we grew up, my dad was working for a building company, and his friend offered me some work when I was 15. So still at school. I think it's in the school holidays, and then went and done some work with him there, and then he just kept offering me work. So I done less and less at school. When I could, because I think he was paying me something at the time. I think it was maybe £50 a day cash, and
good money, mate.
Yeah, it's not bad money now, but when I was 15, it was really good money. And then I just sort of thought, I'm never going to really go anywhere academically anyway. So what am I waiting for? So I just started
Did you do your
doing
GCSEs?
Did some. It wasn't that bad because I wasn't stupid. I done all right.
Yeah.
But I just checked out of school, I think, because I knew I weren't going to go to college. I knew I wasn't going anywhere after that. So for me, it was just in the way. And
do you have a favourite subject at school?
Maths, I think, thinking back to it. But I did, it's weird because we touched on it already, but I did kind of like music and drama, but I weren't willing to admit that, I think. It's weird. I did like the creative stuff, but yeah, for me, when I realised I weren't going to continue down the school route, I just thought it was in the way, and it was just, so I just started working. And then as soon as I left school, I walked straight into that job, which is where I stayed until I went on my own at 23.
So you started your business mainly because of your daughter on the way,
Yeah,
is
so
that right?
I stayed where I was. Like I say, it was an underpinning company.
I used to work for them, by the way.
Did you?
I didn't say it earlier, but not direct for them, but they used to get me in to like replace burnt pipes and stuff really? On like flood and fire
because that's
damage.
what they did, a lot of flood, like you say, flood and fire damage and subsidence. So that's where I sort of learned everything, because I was a labourer. I weren't 30-year-old labourer. I was a labourer at the time. And so I just went everywhere. So we started at the beginning.
Did you do college for any? No. So I've got a really good guy who works with us, and when I was like, "What did you do to learn?" He's like, "I was a labourer."
Yeah. So you do learn everything. But as a labourer on a small company as well, you are there as a labourer every day. So you're just there, and whatever's happening, you're helping the people that are there. So that's how I sort of picked up everything as I went through.
Is that how you learn then, visual?
Yeah, just doing stuff. And I've never been like worried about doing something wrong. I've always just done it, and then it is wrong, isn't it? That's how you learn anyway. So I just started doing everything. But I've never had a trade really. I did do bricklaying at college for a bit, because they did a lot of that stuff.
Nescott?
Yeah, I did that for a year. So I don't know what it is. I got a year's worth of that. But that was just because he wanted me to do something. It wasn't really me that was pushing that. He just wanted me to do that.
Who, your dad?
No, my old boss. They did a lot of, because it was subsidence, so there's a lot of like rebuilds and stuff, and I sort of did that, but I was just kind of looking through, just thinking what I wanted to do, and then I did that as an evening class as well. It weren't like
night college for bricklaying?
Bricklaying, yeah.
Yeah, I went to Nescott for 4 years for electrics at night college.
Yeah.
Do you know why I done that? I done that to stop going out.
Yeah.
Because like student nights back in the day, I was always in Oceana and Kingston, so I ended up stopping myself from going by going to night college. I just didn't
want to stop work. I just wanted to carry on working, so I just did that. But it wasn't really what I wanted to do anyway, so I just carried on the way I was. But yeah, I did that until I was 23, and then I found that I was going to be a dad, and I was sort of got to the point on that. I think at the time they had about 30 or 40 guys at one stage, and I was sort of running underpinning jobs for them, like the actual the digging and stuff. And I was looking around, and I was like, everybody's older than me. They're all in their 40s. Like my dad and that was still there. So some of my uncles were there.
Was your dad a tradie then?
He's a decorator.
Okay.
But he did the same thing. He worked for the same company, so they did a bit of everything. So everyone really on there was doing a bit of everything, because anything, like you just said earlier, anything like electrics, gas, anything like that was just subbed out. Yeah, everyone else can sort of had to just turn it, because it was a small firm at the beginning. But yeah, they was all still there, and I was looking around, and I'm like, they're not actually on that much more money than I am now. And I was sort of thinking, that's my future. That's what I'm working towards. So I just upped and left one day, and I just, I didn't have anything. I didn't have a van. I didn't have a paintbrush. I didn't have any money in the bank. But I was like, if I don't do it now, then in 6 months' time, I'm going to have a kid. And it's not really a good time to do it. So I was like, I'll just do it now. And then just went and just started getting anything I could get I mean,
I was going to say, so when I started Rygas, literally I got a van, I put an ad in the local Guardian, bought some tools, and that was it.
Yeah, so you're like this, what I did. So I got, because we did decorating as well. So my first ever job I got was a decorating job, and I didn't have anything, and I mean nothing. So we won the job. The quote got accepted immediately, like within 3 seconds. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I think it was like 1,200 quid or whatever that we charged. And I told the lady that the van was in the garage. So that because it was only local, I got all the stuff dropped to my mum's house, which is around the corner, and we walked it down there every day to do the job. And then once we finished that job, I bought a Peugeot 206 for like 300 quid, which lasted about 3 weeks. And then we bought some stuff as we went, and I just kept building from there.
Yeah.
And then eventually we got to the point where we was doing all that, and we bought vans and stuff like that. But I literally, the first 3 jobs bought, because we didn't even have a Hoover. Like the amount of excuses we're going to have to come up with, it was like, oh yeah, the Hoover's broken or the plug doesn't work. Can we use
See, this is content already though. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, like earlier on you were saying about you get these ideas and then you thrash them out and write them down.
Yeah.
You could literally do a video on that. I don't know about the van, it's in the mechanics,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
I've done
or you
that,
borrow
yeah.
your mate's van one day. I have got a van, look,
Yeah,
I've got a
that's
van.
I only did that today, so you didn't think I was a waster. I turned off. But yeah, so I don't even have a van now, to be honest.
So going back from that, right? So earlier on you said you've got a car so you don't have to go to work,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
or it stops you from doing...
So I can't stop myself with the work-life balance. I can't, if I've got ability to go to work, if there's a problem, I will go to work. Whereas I've always been a problem solver. So if something happens and there needs to be someone else go to work or something needs to be picked up or dropped off and I can do it, that's what will happen because it's the easiest solution. But what I realise, if I don't have the van, then there'll be another solution and what I will find because I haven't got it. And I just always found out, I didn't say so, I lost my licence for an accumulation of points and like speeding tickets and stuff like that. And I lost my licence for 6 months and I thought it was going to be the end of the world. But I actually have, like, my missus drives and the lads that work for me all drove. So we just made it work, and it just worked anyway. And that's what sort of thought, well, I made it work then. So now I thought, well, I'm just not going to get a new van.
It's funny you say that because I've got my electrician friend, again, very local to yourself. He jumped on a podcast with me recently, and he's messed up his ankle. But he's got a business, but now he's having to focus more on the admin side of things. Because he hasn't got a driving license.
How's it doing?
He has got a driving license, but he isn't able to drive. I don't know. I think he's doing all right, isn't he? On the business
yeah,
side
I think he's getting there, but he didn't like working on the admin side. He was like forced into it, but sometimes being forced into it's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he's changed.
So it's like that. When I realised that, that's when I started. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like forcing your own hand.
Yeah,
If the van isn't there, it's tough, and I will still solve the problem.
Yeah.
It's just, like I say, having that van there, the easiest way to solve it is just for me to go.
Yeah.
And then what happens is every single time I end up going, then before I realise it, I'm 3 or 4 days in, and I'm like, oh, I've been on site every day now, and it sort of like sucks me back in. So like, for me, again, it's hard because we spoke about it already, but I forgot what I was going to say then. I can't do both. I can't do something like this and be on site the same day.
This is the story of my life, right? For like 10 years, I've had this love-hate relationship with, am I a tradesman? Mm-hmm. Am I not? Am I an entrepreneur? Am I this, that, and the other? 1 minute, I'm like, right, I'm getting a van. And the next thing I'm like, right, I'm not having a van. Because the same thing, and it's like, if you take it away, you go, okay, well, I haven't got it now.
I can't do it.
It's like a habit. You go, okay, well, you can't have the habit. You know what I mean? And you've got to sort of take that habit away.
I think it's interesting what you just said with am I a tradesman thing, because I don't think I've ever been a tradesman at heart. That was what I did. I've always been able to, anything that I'm going to do, I've always been able to make it work and be all right at it. So like when I was doing that stuff, I'm like, yeah, I can do it. Like I could go and fit a kitchen for you. I can tile a bathroom. I can put a bath in. Am I the best at it? No, but I've just made it work. And then that's what sort of made me think, right, why don't I just put that attention into something that I actually want to do and make that work? So then that's when I started with the social media stuff and just.
So you're
just
kind of, I
scroll from
suppose, now then, Daryl, choosing your path instead of naturally just falling
that's what happens
into a job sort of thing.
I feel like all successful people, and probably both of you are like this, are chameleons. You don't have to be like label yourself as one thing.
He's not a chameleon, he's a comedian, Sarah.
That's a really bad joke.
We'll leave the jokes.
I'll leave the jokes to you, yeah?
You're a chameleon that can problem solve. That's pretty much what it is. You put you into any industry, you're going to be able to thrive and you'll find a way.
And I do think that that's probably my biggest strength is if you give me something that needs to get done, it will be done. Like whatever that is, doesn't really matter what it is, I'll get. And once I realised that was my strength, like I just thought, well, I can turn that towards anything. And I did find myself able to solve problems for people. Like people always ring me and be like, even if I don't know what the actual problem is, because most of the time, if you ring me now with a problem, you'll already know the answer. Yeah. So I'm really just trying to figure out how to get you to figure out that answer.
So maybe you're a coach.
Yes, I don't want to be a coach. So I did try that, and I'm not turned on enough into that to be a coach. Like you'll only get it from me when I want it to come out. So I do like the problem solving side of it. So then I just realised that am I just in the wrong position? Like once I got to a point where I thought I wanted to go, like I wanted to have a big company, I wanted to have offices and people in the offices with me and have the vans and the contracts and the income and the turnover. I wanted all of that. And then when I got to it, I was like, oh, actually, that's not what I wanted because it gave me less freedom.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to give me more, but it didn't. It gave me less. Like I was seeing the kids less because there's always a problem. I was stressing more because I'm worrying about where the money's going to come from.
Yeah.
And the guys, when you've got a big amount of guys, two problems and the whole day is ruined. If two people don't show up, all of a sudden, any profit I was earning from the other lot that are there is now all gone. And I just thought that isn't where I want to put my attention. So then I just scaled back and just thought,
I think it's really healthy to hear this. Do you know that? Because I think like people sometimes are probably too worried about taking a step back, but actually sometimes you take a step back and you end up taking 4 steps forward.
Because I think everybody thinks, oh, if I could just get one more job, or if I had another 2 guys working for me, then I would be there. Or if I just get to the next invoice, or if I could just earn a little bit more money. And it doesn't. It just changes the horizon.
And the next thing, 5 years is gone.
Yeah. And then you're still where you are. So that was my old boss. When I left, he actually said to me, when I eventually said to him, I'm going to leave, he was laughing. He was like, I can't believe you even stayed here that long. Like, I'm actually proud that you've decided to do it. So after 6 months of him getting over me leaving, because it didn't leave him in it, but it did a little bit. So after that, he then started offering me work. So we was doing the underpinning jobs for him. Yeah. And he was always like a mentor and he was helping me. And when I started getting big, I remember him ringing me and he was like, I've heard you're paying your guys this much and you're taking on this work, like slow down. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And just ignoring him. I'm like, you've done it, like, because he had a big company and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just remember, I don't think anyone can tell you these things. And then one day I was just sitting there, I was like, I think he's actually right. This is too much. And I remember
a lot of people head to burnout, don't they?
Well, I drove over to Luton to meet the company we was working for. And we was turning over a decent amount of money at the time, but this was like 10 times that, the contract that he wanted me to sign. And I was really excited the whole way there, and I had the meeting with him. And then I done the best thing I ever did is I said to him, I'm just going to sleep on it before I sign the contract. And I'll never do that. I'm always so impulsive with stuff. And before I got home, I'd already decided I wasn't going to do it because it was just, they were really bad at paying. And
you went with your gut instinct. Probably,
yeah, just something didn't feel, so like, for instance, one of the invoices, the latest one before that was for like £60,000 for about a 2-week period. And they only paid half of it. And I just sort of thought, okay, well, we can work around that and we get it done. And then they've done it another time and then another time. And then the money that they were talking about going up to, if they paid half of it then, I wouldn't have been able to survive with the guys. Like at the time, I was like, okay, so we can take the money from there and we can pay that and then we'll be all right till they pay. But if they were going to 10 times that and not pay me what they said they were going to, I would have been bankrupt in about 3 weeks. So I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to do it. And then once I gave that contract up, that was like an all or nothing. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to get you to step up to this contract or you can stay where you are. It was you're going up to this contract or we'll use someone else that will and they'll take the whole lot. So for me, that was either lose the whole contract or take the whole contract. And once I lost it all, I had to scale back because it was 60, 70% of the work we was getting. And a lot of the time I did have people that worked for me on a constant basis, but they weren't employed. So I just sort of said to everybody, look, that's it now. We're going to finish up this project and then we're done. And everyone was fine with that anyway. So, and the moment I decided that, I remember sitting in the office with my brother and I just went, oh, I'm so happy that I did that. I gave the office
brother older or younger than you?
Younger. And he said to me, he was being supportive, but he wanted to say the whole time not to do it, but he didn't say that. He was just like, no.
What's the age gap?
2 years. But he's the opposite of me. So I'm always like driven and wanting to do the next thing where he's like happy to just tread water. But which way was really good to have with me because he's like the stable thing that was doing everything for me and I'm just chaotic. So it was good. But he was just like along for the ride and didn't want to be along for the ride anyway. And in fact, he's now a postman. He's just happy just being a postman. So Yeah, I think
you find that in life, though, don't you? Well, I say you find it, but it's good to find it. It's good to find actually what you're doing is making you happy, and it's not always about the money. It's sometimes about your time and stuff. You know, like a postman's a nice job. You're out early sometimes. You know, when you're
walking about.
Yeah.
So he did, and that's what I found. I lost count of the amount of times I said to my missus, "Oh yeah, we've just got to get to next week, and then I'll be able to stop, and then I'll be able to cut back, or we've just got to get to the next point." Or like, I'm going to be late today, but tomorrow I'm not. And then the amount of times I said that, and like the kids are going to bed at 6, 7 o'clock, and I'm not getting home till 8. So I'm living with the kids, and I'm going 3 or 4 days, sometimes longer than that, without seeing them. Yeah. And it's not fair. Like, what am I actually doing?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I've said this before to people, I think actually setting up a business when you've got kids is even harder.
Yeah.
Because like when I set up the business, man, I didn't have anyone to report to. I could literally just graft, and then I ended up getting some days 2 days work done within a day because I could from 5. Let's say I started at 7 till 5ish. Then I'd have a bit of grub, and then I'd start work again from 6 till 10. You know, you end up nearly getting a second day's work in. Sarah, you put your hand up. Did you want to?
I was just going to say, obviously it sounds like, Daryl, that you know what your skills are, you know what you're strong at, and also you've thought about what you want in terms of like goal setting. Have you got any advice for people in terms of it's how they ascertain what they actually want from their lives to be able to make those decisions and work backwards?
So how they find what they want.
Yeah.
I think you're never going to find it without taking a step back. For me, I think everybody's got the same sort of story, but COVID and the lockdown really did that for me because I was kind of forced into it. Like I was saying with the van earlier, I didn't have a choice. I was like, you're not going to work for a couple of weeks. And then that's where my fitness started and all of that stuff. But all of the time that you're in there and you're trying to work and to get enough money coming in and make sure jobs are getting done, things like that, you're not going to ever look at it properly because you're in there. And I think you need to... I always find that if I come back off a holiday, I'm always... especially now I don't drink. If I come back off holiday, when I come back, I'm always raring to go because I've had time to sit, process, and just think about what you're doing. And again, if you're going on, I think it needs to be actual time because if you do go on a holiday and you're drinking the whole time, then it's not going to work. You need to just actually step back, which seems like it's very counterproductive to take a week off of work when you're chasing and you've got bills to pay and you're in debt. But sometimes it's like you need to step back. That's why it's always easier to see someone else's problems, like because you can sort of say, well, you're overworking. And then you don't realise, like you're just saying now, with the work you're doing, you're like, oh, I've got 2 days work done, but you probably feel like you just feel like crap all the time. So like
that's where I got fat though, mate.
Yeah, so that's
because I was just working, not exercising, and just eating rubbish and drinking.
And you feel like
in the hamster wheel.
Because you're busy there, you probably feel like you're doing loads of work. But if you used to look at it and think, you're probably thinking, oh, I'm being lazy. So there's certain things that you probably haven't done that day, whether it's like getting yourself ready for tomorrow or picking up materials or stuff, because you feel like you're doing something because you're there till late, but you're not. Like we used to do a lot of that when we first started, when my brother worked like 7-day weeks and stuff like that. And it wasn't until we stopped doing that we started making progress. And it just seems, it's really hard because you can't
see it. It's a hamster wheel, isn't it?
You can't see it until you step away. And I think that's the hardest thing for me, is to realise that sometimes taking a step out of it is actually more productive. And I think if you are, ultimately, if you're not enjoying it, then why are you just going to keep doing it? If you're forcing yourself to go to work every day and you're chasing bills, it's not going to make that much difference if you just take a week off.
You're right.
You're already in trouble anyway.
I'm going to go book a holiday after this,
mate.
Daryl told me to go on holiday.
I do think as well, we spoke about it earlier, and I think it's a really good point that as much as if you're not enjoying it, why do it? I think it's important to step back 100%, but also the fact that sometimes when you're not enjoying it, like we were talking about earlier, a lot of successful people doing well don't always feel comfortable. They're not always enjoying it just because you think they're successful. And actually you have to go through that discomfort and that feeling of not enjoying something to get the reward at the end as well. So maybe you could tell us a bit more about that for you and like your comedy side and getting into that.
Yeah, so I think everybody always says to me, I wish I could be as confident as you to get up on a stage and talk in front of people, or to put videos up of yourself on social media. Like, I wish I could be that confident, and I'm not that confident. It's just I've found a way now to just do it anyway.
Would you say they're like coping mechanisms?
Yeah. So what I do now, I'll still get as nervous as I ever did, but I'll just force myself to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that a few times, it's the same as anything. Like if you walk in
It's like cold plunges.
Yeah, just like into a gym for the first time. You walk into a gym for the first time, or start a new job. If you start a new job and you walk into an office the first time, it's hard. Like you're uncomfortable. You don't know where anything is. You don't even know where the toilet is. It's a weird thing. But after doing it 20 times, then all of a sudden you're comfortable again. And I think everybody just shies away from, because we're just drawn away from being comfortable. Like you think, no, I'm just going to take the path of least resistance. But sometimes if you just take it, because that's where the growth is. Otherwise you just stay exactly the same.
No, 100%, mate. Just getting put out of your comfort zone is the best.
That's the only way to grow, because there isn't growth anywhere else, because you're just staying the same. And I have it with a lot of people. Like, I try and give people advice, and it's just like I'll do it when I'm ready, or as soon as I'm motivated, I'm going to join the gym, or I'm going to start dieting, or I'm going to start. This is the job I want to do, but as soon as I'm motivated or I've got enough money, and if you wait for that, it's just not going to happen. You just have to say no. I'm just going to start it now, and I'm going to do it, and then the motivation comes afterwards once it starts. So,
can I ask you a question? See, COVID, right? Did you have a, how do I say this right? So some people during COVID had an okay time. Other people had like a really tough time. You know what I mean? Like some people, if you were like, for instance, if you got furloughed and you got loads of time around, you know, your house and your family and stuff. I know a lot of people I know said it was the best like time to be. Other people had really tough times.
Yeah. So for me, I got really lucky because we was doing refurbs at the time, and 2 of them were voids. And we were still allowed to work, right? It's just there wasn't really anywhere to work, because so we had voids. And I just scaled back. It was just me and my brother. We had one in Tower Bridge and one in New Forest Gate. No, Forest, I can't remember what it's called. Something like that anyway, over in East London. And
you travelled a lot for your work then?
Yeah, because I had a website which I don't think I was the first one, but for refurbs, I really got in on it early to start with all the paid ads, and I just got so much work coming through it. Like we was literally
from
picking,
Google?
Yeah, so I had somebody do it. It was someone from school just messaged me when I started the business, and it just, I don't know, whatever he did, it just really worked. So we were just picking amazing. The ones that we wanted.
Is he still doing it?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know actually. I'm not sure. I'm not still doing it, so I'm not really sure. But we was specialising really in flats in London, just because they're small, they're quick and easy to do, and they're expensive flats. So that's what we sort of just honed in on just by accident. So we was just going anywhere. But we had them to do. And the only reason I had to take, I think I took 3 weeks off, and that was only because everywhere ran out of materials. So I think plaster disappeared, which was slowing everything up. And then there was some tiles that I needed to finish the job. So it got to the point on the jobs where we couldn't continue. So I only had like 2 or 3 weeks off. And then the first week was just drinking, and because you don't have anything to do. So we was just drinking.
And people making TikToks.
Yeah,
that's when TikTok.
It did. I wish I'd done it then. I'm miles ahead now.
Yeah.
I was probably taking the mick out of people doing it.
Yeah, mate, that's funny, man.
So for me, it was work as normal for ages, and then once I did stop, that's when I realised that I was actually really fat and I needed to do something about it, because I had to stop and think about it because I was forced to, and then that's when I realised that. I think I said earlier when we were just taking the kids to the park, and I was struggling to do that because you weren't meant to be driving. I don't even remember the rules of like, you can walk to the park and walk around it, but you're not supposed to be driving about. And just walking to the park was difficult for me. And then I just had time, so I was like, I started listening to things and watching things on social media, and then that's where I sort of went down that bit. I can't remember what the original question was. I feel like
was COVID tough for you?
Was COVID tough?
But like it probably.
No, so I don't think it was.
Yeah. I thought that might have been the thing that you were like.
I feel bad saying it, but I feel like it was the best thing to happen to me because it made me realise a lot of stuff that I probably wouldn't have realised afterwards because I was in the.
But did that kind of put you on your fitness journey then?
Yeah, that's what started it. 100%. I saw a video from James Smith, what my missus sent me, which was just about how a calorie deficit works and upping your steps and stuff like that, and that's what I did. I just walked for ages, and then the more I walked, the more I listened to, the more I walked because I wanted to listen to it, and then it just spiralled from there, and then everything sort of come off of that. But once I lost the weight,
where's the furthest you've walked to? Or do you like
furthest? I try and just stay in the area. I walked to from Sutton to Walton on the Heath and around that bit, and then back. I don't really walk that far, to be honest. I went up to Tooting. I'm obsessed with water. I like to just walk along water, so I just sort of hug rivers. Anytime there's water, it just calms me, so I just walk along the river. But
I done Marsden March?
Yeah.
Mate, I was in bits by the end of it. I've done it in jeans as well, and other people like they go and train for it and stuff. Mate, I was in bits, man. But it's definitely an exercise, isn't it?
Walking. Oh, yeah, walking. And like I said, that's where I listen to a lot of stuff because I would never sit indoors and listen to a podcast. Yeah. It just wouldn't work, or a book. I have to be doing something. So I do when I'm driving as well. If I'm doing driving, a lot of driving, I'll listen, but mainly walking. It's just outside.
I think it's like compartmentalising then. And if you're still active anyway, probably if you actually liking what you listen to, you probably walk faster.
Yeah.
I just found I wanted to go,
like I say, it was working both ways because I was walking, getting fitter, but then I also wanted to finish what I was listening to. So, and I know if I go indoors, I'm not going to. So it just that's what spiraled it. And then from there, that's where everything. Once I lost the weight, it like changed my belief system. So I was like, oh, I can lose the weight. What else can I do? And then that's where I went into.
And this is where we are today, then. And obviously onwards and upwards, man. You're doing bits. What did you want to say, Sarah? I seen your hand go up.
I was going to say that obviously both of you have had a bit of a like life body reset, I guess, because you did the same thing, didn't you, Ryan? And you're both like similar ages. What's the secret recipe? What's made this time different to the times before? What's made you be able to keep it up? What's made it happen rather than it just being an idea? What do you guys think that the secret is?
Mine was belief. Once it started working, so I always thought I was just somebody that couldn't lose weight. I was just massive, and a lot of people in my family were big, and I've friends that are big, and I just thought there's people that are big and there's people that ain't, and I just thought that's what it was until I lost 8 stone in total. But I did 5 really quick, like 3 stone immediately, and then 5 within a year. And going from, I think it was 22 stone down to 18. Is that 5 or 6?
Expensive on the clothes, isn't it?
But yes, that's the other thing. So I got the belief there. Once that started happening, I was like, oh, like, what else can you do? So I just started looking at other stuff. But yeah, I was always a 3 or 4 XL in tops, and I got down to an XL, and I got all excited because I'd never had nice clothes or anything, because there isn't nice clothes in that. So I got all excited, and I went out and spent loads of money on nice clothes, and I was in XL for about 3 months, and then I went down to large, and then although I'm wearing it all again now, so it's all right.
What made you go back up again?
Just because I started comedy.
The late nights, we said this, yeah, and it's the routine.
Yeah,
the routine just goes.
I always train in the morning because I just think I have to do it in the morning, because running a business and having kids and stuff, there's too many things in the daytime that can get in the way. Something can happen, the kids could, I don't know, anything could get in the way. There could be a problem at work, and then you get home and you're like, I'm not going to change today because this has happened. Whereas for me, I get up in the morning, and the very first thing I do now, like most mornings, I don't train every morning, but when I am, I just get up, brush my teeth, put my clothes on, and go and train. And then before 6, 7 o'clock, I've already done it, and then it's all done. So when I started doing the comedy, which is obviously late nights, then all of a sudden I'm out till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, then getting up at 5:30 or 5 to go training, it wasn't as easy. So it just sort of slipped. But I always find that you probably can't focus on everything at once. I can't focus on fitness and the kids and comedy and money and the business. You can't do all of it at once. So I just try and keep an eye on all of it. But inevitably, when I start heading towards one thing, the other thing slips. As long as I'm sort of aware of that, and I'm like, oh, that's why I still weigh in all the time, even though I'm not doing it. I'm like keeping an eye on my weight, because then when that gets too high, I'm like, right, so I need to take a step back.
Yeah, I weigh myself as well,
that.
Because then it's a numbers game, isn't it? And
yeah.
Go, okay.
Well, if you're looking at it, you're going to notice it. Otherwise, you know how easy it is to put on weight, especially when you've been big as well. It just happens so quickly. So I try and I'm always focusing, because I know everyone says like you can focus on that, and it's all fine. I'm more like, right, I'm doing comedy, so this is my focal point. I'm going for comedy, and everything else just sort of fits around that. And then once that gets to a point where the other things are starting to drop too much, I just change it, and then I create space for that. So that's what I'm kind of doing at the minute.
So Daryl, you see, like for instance, a lot of the stuff that you've got on, say, your Instagram and stuff is quite trade related. Mm-hmm. When you go out to do shows, do you stick predominantly to that, or
it's not trade related at all?
Okay.
Mainly because a lot of the shows, they're like free shows, like showcases. So there'll be 10 people there that are all trying to be comedians, just doing like a 5-minute spot, and it's like a Wednesday night or a Tuesday night or a Thursday night in like a little space in London. There's no tradesmen in there, because they're not the sort of places that tradesmen go. It's like little bougie bars in London. So it's a different sort of crowd there. So you can't really do trade comedy in these places. I have done a few recently where it's more like that, but there's obviously a market for it. It's just at the moment I haven't got an audience. So I've got an audience on social media, but not as a stand-up. And I'm not ready just to go out. Like, say, for instance, I went on tour, the people who would come and watch me would like that, but I'm not ready to do that, so I can't do that. So you've got to sort of learn where you are, and then you find your audience later.
That's hard, though.
Yeah, it's hard.
Really hard. So it's like, obviously, day to day, your content is quite organic, because you can obviously, you're comfortable within your own skin, because it's like easy probably to do it. So then going out of an evening, we obviously spoke about this for like an hour or so, but it didn't even cross my mind that like when you're going out and doing your nighttime stuff, like that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'll still talk about a lot of stuff about myself. It's just it wouldn't relate to, if I started talking about anything trade related, it just wouldn't get there. So I'm still myself, just about different stuff. But if anything, I stand out more on this like open mic circuit night, because there isn't many people like me doing it. Because it just isn't something that, I don't know, it's a bit of a weirder thing for tradespeople to go ahead and do. I mean, there is some, but it's a very small bunch. It's a lot more drama students and students, and there's a lot of elderly people that are doing it because they've just always wanted to do it and stuff. So there's a different crowd there, but it makes me stand out more, if anything, because...
What's been your longest, I don't even know what you'd call it, like your longest show, where... Your longest set?
10 minutes. That's the longest one. So most of them, they're all 5 minutes, all of them. Whenever you do any of these shows, you get 5 minutes, and that's it, and everyone gets 5 minutes. But then once you start doing all right, then some of the things, so they'll have like what they call the headliners, but it's not really headliners because they're free comedy nights, but they will have people that get a longer slot, so that anyone that does come to it will still get a good night. Because if you just put 10 amateur comedians up, sometimes it's really bad. So there's always someone there. So I've started to get offered some of the longer things. But what's difficult is then, so you start getting 5 minutes together, which is quite good, and then you go up to 10, which means you've got to break up the 5, but then sometimes you're doing the 5, so you've got to put it back together. So it's just one of them things, you just have to keep doing it and doing it and doing it and learning so that you're ready when the opportunities come. But you can't just because I could probably get the opportunities now if I wanted to. I could probably, because I've got a social media following, ultimately what promoters want to do is sell tickets. So I've got that, so I could say, well, I could sell tickets because I probably could.
So you write stuff down and you plan and stuff. Have you got a date in mind where you go, this is Daryl's show?
Not my own show, no.
Where it's
I want it, so you get, to give you an idea of what it is, you get like the open mic scenes, and then you get the pro scene, so you would start off by doing like a middle 10, which is like they'll have a good opener and a good closer, and then they put the newer people in the middle. So that's like the first goal where I head towards. So I'm sort of thinking...
How far are you away from that, do you reckon?
So everyone says 100 gigs is where you start, not when you get to that point. That's when you know whether you're going to be any good. And I'm at 27 now. So, I mean, 100 gigs is the target. But I'm not impatient, but I also don't want to like wasting time. So I'm going to say 6 months. So sort of like...
Summer.
Yeah, like May, June, July, something like that, somewhere around there. If I can, and then it's not like you go, I'm a pro comic now, and then you start doing gigs. You have to get people to book you, so you might do one, and then not one for a while, and then you might get another one. So it's all learning for me, because I don't know any of this stuff. I'm just picking it up as I go.
How does your missus find it? Like,
so at first, she didn't want me to do it, because one, there's no money in it. Even when you get to a fairly good point, it's still not the greatest paid career.
Yeah.
And two, I'm already out all day at work, and then I'm spending the evenings out. So what I've actually done is I've now created space for myself by not being at work, which is another reason for doing that. So now I'm not there in the evenings, I'm there in the daytime, so I do the school runs.
So you said that, I remember when you messaged me saying you did a school, how long have you been doing that for?
Quite a while, as probably a year on and off. One of the things I wanted to do is that, and I think I said earlier, like, I've always just wanted to be able to, what I'm trying to get to is, I wrote this down on one of my like goal sheets that I do, is just to be able to say yes. So if the kids want me to take them, to like a drama class or to swimming, or they want me to take them to school or come to their shows when they're doing shows, I want to have the ability to say yes. It's not like I'm always going to say yes, but I would like to be able to. And one of the things I actually wrote down, like, if you could have any life you wanted, it's one of them weird things that I see on social media somewhere, like, write down what your ideal day would look like. And I was like...
That's weird, because Sarah wrote down one of the questions, like, what would your ideal week be like?
Yeah. And we didn't talk about that earlier, did we?
No.
So what I wrote down, I'll tell you, because I pretty much remember my ideal day. I literally want to get up in the morning, train straight away, take the kids to school, spend from 10 till 2 working, whatever capacity that is, whatever I'm doing, pick the kids up from school again, turn my phone off, spend the evening with them.
Sounds like my perfect day as well.
And that's kind of so. Then the next question after that is, what do you have to do to make that happen? And then I was like, nothing. I don't have to do anything to make that happen. Why don't I just do that now? I've got people working for me. There's some money coming in. There's not all of the money coming in, but do I need all of the money do you need money to get up in the morning, go for a run, and take your kids to school? You don't. It's just you're so am I going to work?
And in a way, you'll take a pay cut to gain the time.
And then in 10 years' time, when they're not at school anymore, and then that's gone, like, am I going to regret it? Like, I probably would have. So, like, and it's weird because, so my 6-year-old, we walk her to school most of the time. So the other one's now just gone to high school, so she's going on her own anyway. But the 20-minute walk in the morning with my 6-year-old, I learned so much about her. And like, it's just me and her. We're just going for a walk and like just chatting about our day. You don't get that. And it sounds weird now, but when I wrote that down, and then I was like, I could just do that. So now I try and do that as much as I can. I can't always do that. Don't get me wrong. Like, I can't actually. I don't think I can pick them up today because we're here a bit later than I was supposed to be. But
what time do you have to pick them up at?
It's 3:00. So no, it should be fine. But like, if I can't do it, I can't do it because obviously my partner's still around. But I try and do it.
Yeah, but you want that opportunity.
Yeah. And there's just things like that. Like, I just thought that's what I actually want. But don't get me wrong. Between them hours, like once I've dropped them at school until I pick them up, I try and get what I'm doing in that day. And then, but then, because I've trained in the morning and I've done what I wanted to do by dropping her at school, I then feel like on top of the world. I'm like, right, what's happening today? And then I'm ready to do it. And whether that's film content or come and do stuff like this.
Do you reckon you'll get a van again?
Yeah, because I drove a van recently for the first time in ages. And
what van was it?
Transit, like a newer Transit, like pretty much brand new.
They're good looking, they are.
Yeah, just being in it. I just got in it and all of a sudden I was like, I feel at home. So even though I need to be far enough away, like I'm not going to use it for work clothes. So
you can get a combi van though.
Yeah, so I just think I would like to get a van, but I know as soon as I do that, because it just sucks me in. And before I notice it, 3 kids, but one on the way.
You don't need a 6-seater.
Yeah,
get a 6-seater Ford Transit.
We have been looking, so I probably will. Yeah, I probably will do one just because I just feel more comfortable in the van.
And you have the bikes in the back anyway, and stuff.
Not for any other reason than that. Yeah, but. Yeah, I do feel more comfortable in a van because I've always had it. I just prefer it.
You get more respect on the road in a van anyway.
Yeah, I did a video about that the other day.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. It wasn't me, but just shouting at people out of the van.
Oh, I seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so I do feel more comfortable in a van, but I for no reason really. I don't know.
I mean, your videos have obviously taken the trade industry by storm, man. Like obviously we spoke earlier. What was the video that gave you the most engagement?
So the first one was the one what we did was as a 30-year-old labourer. So it was just I hadn't done any trade content before then. It was all about fitness and like sobriety and stuff like that. And because I was just in the zone of putting videos up, someone had annoyed me in the morning and kept giving me excuses and stuff. So I was just like, right, we're just going to make a video about this.
Chuck your work clothes on, you said?
Chuck some older work clothes on. I was at work anyway, but I just made myself. I don't want to be horrible. I just made myself look like a labourer, yeah, and put the video up and didn't think nothing of it. And at the time, my cousin was with me. He said, I don't even know what you're going on about here. You're not making any sense because I'd sort of done it as we was going, and then I just in my head I knew how he was going to edit together. So I left him working and went and sat in the van, edited the video, put it up.
What do you use to edit videos?
CapCut. I think that I don't know at the time though. I CapCut now.
Yeah.
I do it all on my phone. Some people like to do it on the laptop, but I'm just more comfortable on my phone. But I did that, went back to help him. We finished the job, we was driving home, and he said to me, have you seen that video you put up? And I was like, no, obviously I ain't. Look, you've seen 50,000 views already. And I was like, Jesus.
How many followers did you have at the time?
Not a lot, it'd be hard to work out, probably like 2,000, 3,000. And I was like, wow. And we was driving home.
You've got how many now?
220, 230, 200. And then I'm nearly at 100 on Instagram, which is what I've been sort of aiming towards. But then that's always the same as like money in it. It's like once I get to 100, then I'm going to want to get to 250. And it's just, so try not to pay attention to it. But 100 just feels like a bit of a checkpoint because it's obviously, So, but yeah, by the time we got home, it had hit like 500,000 views. And I was like, wow. And then
what did you do that evening? Were you drinking?
No, I wasn't drinking, but I was just replying to comments.
Saying thanks
constantly, replying to comments. I think it was the first one of the videos I see like that.
Did you get any negativity from that video?
Not really. I did on the second one. So we did. I was like, wow, this has actually done really well. And I was like, we've got to do another one. So the next day, did another one. No, I actually did it on my own indoors. I think that must have been a Friday because I was indoors on my own. And I just set my house up. I put like a dust sheet over the telly and I put like some stuff out on the floor. Just did a video on my own pretending I was on site and done that. And then that one hit like 3 million. And I was like, oh my God, this is actually something really good. Then I got a lot of hate on them to say like that I was bullying people and having a go at people, which is ridiculous anyway. But from there, once I realised that that's a problem that I was having a lot with trying to employ people, I was like, oh, what other characters have we got that annoy me on sites? And then I just started doing other ones, and it turns out everyone's got these characters. So yeah.
But so if you were to name some of your characters, yeah, what would you call the 30-year-old labourer?
As an actual name? I don't know. It's got to be.
No, do you know what? Actually, let me say it. If we say that, you're going to get all the people with that name comment.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's like Dave, I think. It's just such a common name. Like, it's just... I don't know. It's hard to name. And that's why I've always gone with, like, so I've got, like, the 30-year-old labourer, the melty supervisor. I've got 18-year-old labourer, like, the tight boss. I just think that it relates more. Whereas...
The dad one was good, you done, on the airport.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. That's like dads at the airport. Yeah. I think that the characters are more like that.
You obviously go on holiday then? When you took that?
Just Daryl, just to let you know, you can call the type boss Ryan if you would like a name for that character.
Yeah. That was me on that, yeah. Getting stuff out of the skip. We've thrown that away for. Literally,
I didn't make a conscious decision to do that. It's just that's what happened. And now, especially like if I walk past a building site, I'm getting people shout 30-year-old labourer at me all the time. Actually, that holiday, I was in Rhodes Airport and somebody shouted across Rhodes Airport at me, that's the 30-year-old labourer. I was in another country and it's just
Have
it's
you been
weird.
asked for autographs?
Actually, I haven't got... Like, someone asked me at football, like, can I have your autograph? I was like, I don't have an autograph. I don't even know what it is.
Someone at football?
When I was,
Chelsea?
Yeah, when I was literally like just in the concourse bit, just queuing up and someone asked me for an autograph and I was like... No,
give it to them.
I don't have an autograph. I was just like, no, I haven't even thought about it. But people ask for photos and that all the time. I've had that, yeah. And
that's cool, man.
It's strange. It is strange, but I'm getting used to it now. So, but it does happen. But yeah, so that's why without them having names, they just sort of I always get that shouted at me, which is I think better. I think.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And actually, after talking to you about it more, it's probably better that way because, yeah, a name might actually make it not.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just going to be a name, innit? Like, no one's going to shout Ryan at me down the street. I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely was me, that type boss, though. 100%. Did you want to ask a question, Sarah?
I just wanted to touch back on the goal setting thing quickly, because I think it's really interesting how much self-development work you've done and like the things that you've listened to. And I think one of the things you've said with the goal setting is you put down exactly how many comedy shows you wanted to do, etc. And I think one of the places people can go wrong is they're too generic with their goal setting. There is actually formulas that help you reach your goals easier. So just to let everyone know, if you comment, like, or subscribe, we're going to do a free download of like a goal setting kind of breakdown. But is there any tips you can give to people in terms of setting the goals, like how specific you can be, or like how do you do it? How do you make that come to fruition? Yeah.
So I think, like you just said, it's got to be an actual number for me. So I've done 100 gigs, and then you can sort of reverse engineer.
That's why you liked maths at school.
Yeah, maybe.
Because you go on numbers, isn't it?
Because if you just say, oh, I'm going to do loads of comedy gigs, like, I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Like, so for me, it's 100. I'm like, okay, so if I'm going to do 100 gigs, how immediately I'm thinking, right, so 2 a week. So then you've got a thing. Because otherwise I'm like, oh, I'm aiming towards 100. Like, what are you doing to get to 100? Whereas now, all I have to go, have I got a gig next week? If I haven't, I'll book one. And then I don't have to worry about anything else.
Is it hard to get a gig?
Not really, no. Because it's harder than you... Well, it's probably not harder than you think. As long as you start joining like Facebook groups, and there's an app what you can do and things like that. And once you start doing all right, then people will like... Because you just have to apply, and then they'll say yes or no. And for me, one of the questions they ask is, do you have a social media? And as soon as I put my social media on there, I just keep getting yes, because people want you to sell tickets and stuff. Not like I am selling tickets for these things, but it's
Have you tried? Oh, no, you recently, I think you said, I'm here tonight.
Yeah, I'm just started telling people where I am.
That's good, yeah.
And like... I don't know if I want to say that or not. I'm going to say it anyway. But the reason I'm doing that is because I'm trying to build anticipation for when I do want to sell tickets. So, like, if people were coming along, I always just try, and I've done the same thing with the weight loss. I want to bring people along the journey with me. So, like, I'm not just, oh, he's a comedian. I'm like, oh, remember when he wasn't a comedian? And then we've done all this stuff with him, and like I'm sort of building my own sort of community. So that's why I share that stuff. And I wasn't sharing it at the beginning because I wasn't ready for that. But now I am sort of ready for that. And also, some of these promoters that you do the open mic nights with run pro nights as well. And if they see that I keep turning up and people are coming to watch me, then it's just, sometimes they don't care if you're funny or not. They're like, can you sell tickets? Like, no one actually cares if you're funny,
the thing is,
really.
one person might find someone funny, one person may not. You're never going to be able to.
Well, if you're going to, if say it was your comedy night, and you can book me who's funny but no one's going to turn up, or somebody else that is not funny at all but is going to bring 200 people, who are you going to book? Because you want, like, don't get me wrong, you need to make sure you have a good night as well, but you can have another comedian on there to do that, and if someone's going to bring a lot of people, it just makes sense. So that's why I try not to use that too much now, because I don't want, it feels a bit like cheating, but obviously...
Can I ask you a quick question to interrupt, right? So during COVID, did you know that you were a comedian? That's crazy, man.
I just decided, somebody said to me one day, I started doing the comedy videos, they started working, started doing more and more of them, and I was like, all the fitness stuff just sort of, well, one, it disappeared because I was doing the comedy, and two, because I started doing all that stuff, my fitness sort of slipped. So I just make content about what's happening to me at the time. And if I'm not doing fitness stuff, then there's no content being made about that. So that's just sort of the direction I went in. And then a few people have said to me, you should try stand-up comedy.
What was your first gig?
Cavendish Arms in Stockwell, and it was awful. Yeah, it was awful. I haven't been back since, actually, but I would go back. But I sat in the pub around the corner, so you have to take, every one of these gigs, you have to take someone with you. So what they do is they make everyone bring a friend, so that there's 10 comedians and 10 friends, so there's 20 people in the audience, and that's what they do. So I took a mate with me, and we sat in the pub around the corner, because I was like, I don't want to be in there too early, blah, blah, blah. So sat in the pub around the corner, and I was sitting there, and I said to him, I'm not going to do it.
Oh, you said this, yeah, he made you do it.
And he was like, you are doing it. I've come all the way over here with you. Like, you'll be fine, just do it. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I was just getting really nervous. And then I got up there, done it. Didn't go that well. But I mean, it's the first one. And then somebody actually come up to me and was like, oh, how many gigs have you done? And I said, oh, it's the first. And he went, no, like, how many? And I was like, no, it was actually my first. And he was like, mate, you're so far ahead of where I was. And I'd seen his set as well. And just something like that just sort of gives you, I don't know if he's telling the truth. Do you know what I mean? I would probably say that now to someone as their first anyway, because sometimes you just need a bit of belief that you are doing it.
100%.
But yeah, so that was where I started that one. And then I was sort of doing one a week and just finding rhythm. But now I've got a goal, if we go back to the goal thing, because I just break everything down into that, so that now I know I've got to do 2 a week.
So you've established yourself now as a stand-up comedian?
Yeah, I would say so. I think
so. Do you know, it's a hard question to ask. Or even answer, and you go, so if someone walked in now...
I wouldn't say, if someone said to me, what do you do? I wouldn't say I'm a comedian.
What would you say you do then?
I might say comedian-ish. I don't know. I haven't really been asked it recently.
It's a hard thing to say. Even I don't know I know it sounds silly, but I don't think I'm a tradesperson fully, because I have so many other things that either I'm doing or I'm about to do. At what point do you then draw the line and go, well, that's what my job is?
So the thing is, if I said I was a comedian and then you looked at what I'm doing, I'm not a comedian, because I am doing, but I'm learning. I'm like a trainee comedian, I suppose. I don't know. Because I think to be a comedian, I would have to be regularly being paid to be a comedian.
But you're actively becoming, I suppose.
Yeah.
But if you're doing like
the stuff on social media as well, so what is that? Because like
content creator, I suppose, isn't it?
That's what I mean. It's more like, but then, because people will call themselves a comedian because they make funny videos, and then I don't agree with that either. Like, you're not a comedian, you just make it. Like, it's a weird one. I don't think there's a word for it. Like you say, it's content creator, influencer. I don't know any of them things, but it'd be one of them. But for me, I'm heading towards that. So aspiring comedian?
Yeah.
Something like that, innit?
It's a lovely word, isn't it? Aspire, man. Yeah, it's a great word. Did you have a question, Sarah?
We're not all surrounded by these inspiring people in our lives. Some of us are very lucky to have some people around us, but others don't have those network of people. We all have resources now online, but was there anything in particular that stood out to you to kind of start creating your journey, or is there any tips you can give the audience on where to start finding good content?
Yeah, so for me, I think it's a very common thing that people say when you decide to step away from drinking or stop taking drugs and stop seeing your friends. It's a very lonely sort of place. Like, you have to just go and do it on your own. And for me, I didn't have, because you sort of like, if I took myself out of a friendship group, I haven't, like, all my friends were drinking, taking drugs, going to the pub. When you come out of that, I'm not part of that friendship group right now, but I also don't have the other one yet, because I'm also not whatever that is.
You're in a way, I suppose you're kind of reinventing.
Yeah, so and people say you find yourself, and it is kind of true, as weird as it sounds. But it's like you're not ready to be part of that other group yet either. So you're just sort of like in no man's land. And what I found is, so this is why I never know, everyone says social media is bad and it's ruining society. But for me, it's been a net positive because I've seen stuff on there that has helped me with my life. And I've grown a following and I've managed to stop all of the things that I was doing which are wrong. And I got that through social media. But for me, it was finding like a podcast like this. Like there's a guy, I done his course, he's called Paul Mort. And he's from a similar background to me, working class background from North. And he was...
Where's he from, bro?
He's from Newcastle. So he said something, I was listening to his podcast and he said something about he said something about being the person in the pub that's always the one that's talking and everyone wants to be around and blah, blah, blah. He said all that stuff. And it just sounded like what I was trying to be. And then he said like he stopped drinking and he's still that person. And then I just sort of, something just switched and I was like, oh, so I don't have to be that person that I think everyone wants me to be. And then, so I was like, oh, so if he can do that, why can't I do that? And I listened to his podcast and I sort of dove into that. And I just sort of worked my way through that. And then I joined his program. And
is that like a monthly subscription?
Yeah. So I think it's a year. But I think they do a monthly.
How much roughly?
A few thousand. I think it's like.
So you were serious on him then?
Yeah. So I just sort of thought I wanted to.
For you, man.
Well, I wanted to stop drinking, and that was I tried everything on my own, and I just wanted to be around other people that wanted. Because every time you tell someone you're going to stop drinking, it's different a bit now. I know I stopped a few years ago, but it is a bit different now. But at the time, everyone was like, "Why? What are you talking about?" Yeah. But when you, because obviously, like I say, I haven't found that group yet, but you can find it online. And even if you're not in a group, you could listen to podcasts and then be a product of an environment that you're not even in with people that you don't know.
So that worked for you?
For me, listening to podcasts put me onto him in the first place, joining his program, and then, being around other people that are trying to do the same thing, it makes it normal. And it makes you feel like maybe that's what you should be doing. Whereas if you try to do that, if you try to go down a pub every Friday and not drink, it's never going to work. And if you try and do it on your own, you just have to self-doubt, like, well, I'm missing my friends, or I'm not doing anything with my life. I want to go and have some fun. And it went until I step back now. But then I'm 2 or 3 years into that. Now I've got a group of friends around me. Not that I went out looking for them, but it just so happens that now I've got a group of friends around me that don't
new
drink.
group of friends.
Yeah, which was never on the horizon. I didn't like go out looking for them, but it just happens because you're out, you're going on bike rides, you're going to the gym, you're eating healthy, you're not in the pub all the time, so you're finding
and you're
other
all
stuff to
pushing
do.
each other in the right direction of what you want to move.
And that's what happens. And now I've got a new circle of friends. I still talk to some of my old friends, and I will still go and see them, but we have nothing in common anymore.
Yeah. Well, they may be just drinking buddies.
Yeah, that's it. They're not my friends. They're the pub's friends, and you're just in the pub with them. So, like, for me...
Did you meet a lot... So the gym, obviously, you went to this morning, was Dapper Laugh's gym, in Woking, right? He's just opened that, UFC.
That was just a free... that popped up. So I've got a thing at the moment. If I see something and it interests me, I just go and do it.
Which is the thing of saying yes.
Yeah, and that just popped up. And I was like... My mate actually... I saw it in the morning, and then my friend messaged me and he said, have you seen this boxing class thing? We keep talking about doing something. It's half hour from us, why don't we just do it?
It looks like a good room. He's got the boxing bags all over the place.
It's all a brand new thing. And I just thought, he's been through a lot of the sobriety stuff as well. He's also a comedian. Yeah. And I just felt like I was relating to that quite a lot. And to be honest, it's not like you go there and it's his thing. It isn't his thing. He's just there doing the same thing.
Was he there this morning?
He was there this morning, but he's not. It's not like we're going there to go and see him. He's just part of the group. There's someone that takes the course, and then we're all doing it, and he's obviously there as well. But I related to him because I thought about doing it, and then my mate messaged me. I was like, that's a sign. Let's just do it. But I've always.
So do you have another gym you go to as well?
Yeah. So I've always trained in the morning anyway. But I've just changed because I used to go to Pure Gym because I had to train at 5 a.m. because of work. Now I've taken a step back from work. I've moved back over to Westcroft Gym because it opens at 6:30 and I'm going then. But to be honest, I'm now doing this boxing boot camp, which is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I haven't been going to the gym anyway. So. And then I do another
I'm going to come to that boxing class with you, man.
It's good.
Is it pay as you go or is it like a monthly thing?
So at first it was free because he was just doing tasters. It's, what is it? I don't know if he's still got the deal on. It's £90 a month, but there was a reduction on the deal.
You tried a HIIT class before?
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Did you not? No. I know Westcroft used to do circuit training
back
in the day.
But that's one of the things they do there is on one of the mornings is like a circuit. Yeah. It's fine. I don't mind it, but I've never done boxing before, and it's like a skill as well. So I'm getting fit, but I'm also learning stuff as well, which just for the way my brain works, I want to learn how to do that. It's just, it seems to be working, but I have to do that if I don't do one of them things, if I stop walking or if I stop training, everything else just loses.
I find so on the HIIT classes you do like, let's say 10 minutes of punching a bag, right?
Yeah.
But mate, when I do it in the morning, my brain, everything that's in there just completely gets like compartmentalized.
Yeah.
That makes that to that to that to that, and then sometimes during the 3 little things that you're doing on the HIIT workout, I get my phone out and I put it on my to-do lists.
Yeah.
But it's a bit like being
endorphins, isn't it? That's what it releases, and it just makes you focus. Well, I notice it the other way around. If I don't train for a week, everything just it goes hazy, and I don't know what I'm doing. So
Same.
Even if that's why even when I don't want to, I just get up and do it. Like this morning, I knew I was coming here, and I didn't feel like getting up, so I got up at 3:50 to go to that gym because it's 5 o'clock in the morning. It's half hour for me. So I got up at 10 to 4 to go there this morning. And I didn't want to do that, but I knew if I didn't do that, then when I got here, I wouldn't be up for it.
So the podcast mainly, right? Let's say obviously what you're doing on your journey is morphing from, let's say, someone who got into the trade industry, whether it was by choice, by accident, something you just fell into because of the £50 a day that you started with back in the day. So you've gone from doing that to now being creative on videos to become a comedian, right? What I'm doing and what we're doing is the trade industry obviously naturally is, in my opinion, getting a bit more of a following out there because of social media. There's definitely a community thing there. We're basically exploring that with obviously podcasts. The main podcast originally that we launched naturally was trade related because that is kind of my background, right? But then the other thing is personal gains. So like we've got TradeGains, which is mostly for tradespeople, right? And the gains is the big word, right? The trade obviously for this, that and the other means, I'm going off on one, but anyways, TradeGains, personal gains, right? With you've gone from here to here, both of them, because obviously we spoke about you being a tradesman. Now, the personal thing, though, with the fact that you've got yourself fit, you've, created a new life for yourself within the work industry. Like, my New Year's resolution is to do more podcasts, network more with people who are probably on the same sort of journey as me. Your plan for this year, we've gone through it, is 100 shows. Once you do hit that 100 show mark in May, June, July, then what?
So the 100 shows is just a target for me to aim at. It doesn't actually mean anything to me whatsoever. It's just I needed something to know what I'm going towards. But for me, I want to do...
Oh, do you know what? Do you know what? You already told me what you want to do in your day, right?
Yeah.
So you're doing that anyway. Is the plan now, if you can become a full-time comedian, that would be what you stick to?
Yeah, so that's
within reason.
So that life that I said earlier, for me to continue to have that, I wanted the opposite of probably not where you're trying to go, but I want to exit from the trades completely. I don't think I've ever wanted to be there ever. It's just that's the business that I was presented with, and that's where I wanted to go. I want to be away from that completely, but I can't because I currently need the income to do what I'm doing. So I'd like to get to a point where I'm surviving solely on however that looks as a comedian, whether that's social media or stand-up comedy or some sort of pilot TV episode that we're going towards. I want to be able to have my income coming from there so that frees up the rest of my time to just do the stuff with the kids. Because if I'm doing a job, like a comedian, for instance, is an evening thing mainly, and I can still do all the stuff with the kids in the daytime. Whereas what I was doing before is when the kids are around in the daytime, I'm not there, and then I'm there in the evening. So for me, if I want to create that life where I'm doing stuff that I want to do, what I enjoy doing, but there's enough money coming from it that I don't have to do any other stuff. Yeah. And that's ultimately what I'm trying to do. And I'm just taking further steps back from the trades every time that I do this. But ultimately, if I could write down what I want now, it would be to be paid enough money from that stuff that I wouldn't have to do any of the other things. Because then that takes up so much of my time, the construction business, compared to the comedy, because that's where the income's coming from. So I need it to stop taking up that time. And then I feel like I can really push on with the other stuff, because right now I'm being held back a bit by it.
Is it Edinburgh Comedy?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Was it Fringe?
Yeah.
Have you looked into that?
Yeah, so that's one of the things. So it costs a lot of money for a start to do that.
Well, you have to pay to become...
Yeah, you pay. So most people I've spoken to, I don't know if these are true figures, but people I've spoken to about it say you're looking at between 10 and 20 grand just to go up there. Nobody earns money really by having a show there. So if you put your own show on there, you come away at a negative because there's just so much stuff happening. The reason people do it is it's like a showcase to be like, hey, come and look at me, because you've got all the producers and the people that are booking people are all there. So that's something that I'll probably work towards.
As someone who's taken a show to Edinburgh,
you'll know more than me.
It is the greatest experience of your life. So what I would always say is that even if you don't get out of it what you wanted, you will get other stuff out of it. And you will certainly find out who you are as a performer. I was actually doing a bit of theatre, but it was comedy sketches. And it changed my life. It really did. So my advice would be, go for it. If you get picked up, if you get a Perrier Award or whatever, that's it. You're on, stand up all over the TV, and it could blow you up. It's certainly worth
I don't know if it sounded like I wasn't for it. I didn't mean to come across that. What I just meant is that right now, because I'm trying to build myself into it, and I'm obviously not being paid as a comedian, and I've still got to keep the thingy. I'm not willing to do that amount of money and take a month up there yet.
I just looked from the 1st till the 25th of August. That's a long time, isn't it?
So so that's the thing for me as an investment right now. That wouldn't be the best place for me.
Would you go and watch it?
Yeah, probably. But it's not just investment of money; it's investment of time. Right now, for me, spending a month there trying to do that when I've got all this other stuff that I need to get buttoned up first, I think I'll probably be looking at more like next year.
When's your little one due?
July. I had to think then. It is July, yeah. 23rd of July. So yeah, for me, it's just not good timing for any of that. And I didn't even take that into consideration because I'd already shut it down before then. But it will be something that I do. Like I say, it's an investment of time and money. And right now, I'm just trying to learn the craft of actually being up on stage. Because if I went there now, it would be don't get me wrong, it's like an intensive course, isn't it? So
do you feel like you're in a way, I suppose, doing an apprenticeship?
Yeah, exactly that. And it would, don't get me wrong, if I went there for 30 days, if you did the same thing, the same show 30 days in a row, by the time you get to the end of it, it's going to be good. Because you've done it 30 days in a row. But I don't think I'm at a good enough starting point to go for that. And I'm not willing to take a month up there to do it. So, but I will probably go to the next one. I don't know when you said it was, August or whatever.
What's really interesting when I hear you speak, Daryl, is you're very set. You're like, no, this is what I'm doing. Like, you just are very decisive in what you're deciding. I think that's a really important part for people to take on as well, because you're just like, no.
That's why you set up a business, though, because you called a shot. You just go, that's how it is, and that's happening, and then there's no other.
I can't see it any other way. Like for me, it's just that's why I've always. That doesn't work. So I'm like, I'm not doing that. This is what I'm going to do.
But that's the thing, is being decisive is a good thing. Being indecisive, you end up going around in circles.
And not being a sheep. I think one of the things as well, talking about game plan, is like so many people have this idea of what success is, but it's actually other people's idea of success. When I listen to you and what you want, you're like, I want more flexible time. And some people are like, well, that's not success. That's not like, you're not asking for loads of money. But actually, people need to think, what do you want? What is your idea of success? Because if it's time, you might be working against actually what you ultimately want. And I think also they can be closer to it than they realise. Sometimes you're only a step away from actually what your ideal world is like.
That's what I did with my ideal day. And I think if everybody say you won a lottery, what would you spend your time doing? You're like, I'm going to spend all the time with my kids, and I'm going to go on holidays, and I'm going to go to these places. Like, you could do that now.
100%, mate. You're damn right, man. And the thing is with it, you only live once, right? So we're all waiting for what?
And I said earlier about if you want to do something, just do it, even if you don't want to. So I got offered a paid gig recently. So getting a paid gig at the stage I'm at now is ridiculous. Like, I'm not ready for it. And part of me really wanted to
Very nice of you to say that, but I reckon you are ready for it.
Yeah, but you haven't seen me on the stage. But no, I could do it, but I'm not ready for that opportunity. And I said to the guy, look, I really appreciate you offering it to me now.
Amazing.
But I don't want to do that and ruin... I'm not saying it would ruin the chance, but you've come to me, offered me a chance. If I'm not good... and I'm not ready for it.
You don't want to use your golden gun yet.
I've moved it. So we've actually moved it back. So he's offered me the spot further back in the year.
Is it local?
No, it's miles away. But we're going to talk about it closer to the time. But because people think like, just because I want to do something, I'm going to go and do it. Sometimes you do have to realise that you're not ready to do that yet. And I am impulsive, but I'm also realistic as well. So it's like, do the things, put the stuff in place, but don't try and run towards it. That's why I like to say, I'm going to do 100 gigs. I could go and do 4 a week. But what am I sacrificing there? Again, it's the time in the evenings that then my fitness is going to slip. So I'd rather just go, right, I've got this.
Mate, you're determined, man. I'm telling you.
I've got a focus.
Mate, it's good.
Thing. Yeah. It's a focus that I just know, like, that's where I want to get. And I always think now, like, it will happen. Like, I'm not thinking it won't happen. I'm just like, if I do these things, if you go and do 100 gigs, you will be good at it. Like, you just will be. It's the same with anything. If you
but
take
the way, but after
kicks,
speaking to you, it's like, when someone knows they're doing it, it's not how, it's when. Do you know what I mean? You're just like, that's what's happening. And like you say, like, just stick to the plan and it will come, won't it?
People worry too much. You know, like, say someone's starting in the gym, they're like, oh, what exercises should I do? Or how long should I spend doing this? How long should I spend resting? How many times should I pick it up? Like, no, just go to the gym.
Consistency.
Just get to the gym and go to the gym every day. And all of that stuff will just sort itself out, because you won't go there every day and just pick a dumbbell up and do that every day, because that will get boring. You won't do anything. So just go to the gym. So that's like me. I'm just going to the gigs. And then I won't go to a gig without being prepared. So then, because I know I'm going to a gig later, I'll then prepare for that. So then that stuff goes with it as well, because I know that as a person I will want to be prepared. So then the only metric I have is, have I got a gig next week? No. So
I suppose you juggle. You go, okay, if I'm going to do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, like,
that's what I've got with the gigs.
And then on the Tuesday and the Wednesday, that's when you'll then fit in.
So the other way round. So I've booked the gigs Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, because that's the same days I'm training. Because if I had a gig tonight, and I have got a gig tonight, sorry, I can't go boxing.
Have you got one
morning.
tonight?
Yeah, I've got one tonight. Yeah. So I can't go boxing in the morning because I'm out late tonight. So now I train in the morning and gig the same day. And then
you've got to document all of this, mate.
Yeah, it's all. I do it on the social media. Do you know what I mean? And I've got like a list of the gigs I'm doing and stuff. But are
you like, your day, for instance, of what you're doing? Are you recording that then?
Like a day in the life? Sort of thing? No, not really. Maybe I should. I haven't really done that. But it's like, that's what I'm saying.
Because you're testing yourself. You're putting yourself completely into new waters, man.
Yeah. Well, it's like today. So like I say, I trained this morning, then do the school run, then come to you, do the school run, and then I've got a little bit of an evening, and then I'm going to do a gig. And
what's for dinner tonight?
I don't know, something quick and easy. Usually chicken and veg, to be honest, in the week. But yeah,
pie and windy pud.
You what, mate?
Air pie and windy pud, isn't it?
Yeah,
Nothing.
Anything that's quick and easy for me to eat that's got high protein, and that's what I'm going with.
Do you eat fish?
I eat a lot of fish. I eat prawns like every day.
Oh, you told me that on your... Right, so thank you very much for coming. I know you're a busy man, so I really appreciate it. Like I say, your content online is great, so getting you on the podcast, it means a lot to us. Like, we really appreciate it. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the follow button to TradeGains and Personal Gains, and stay tuned for Game Plan.